Good morning and welcome to Talking Point here on WESN, the content capital. My name is Keaton Shaw. I'm very happy that you can join us for this edition of the program. It's of course a wet and windy Thursday morning, so in your daily endeavors as you make your way throughout the nation, whatever journeys that you may have to travel, please be careful, be safe, always drive for the others on the road and walk with your umbrella. But we're in studio this morning and there is a lot to talk about. In fact, I'm joined via Zoom with guest commentator, my colleague and a good friend, Mr. Kemuel Pascal. Good morning, Kemuel.
Good morning, Keaton. Good morning to your viewers and listeners as well. It's my pleasure to be here on this very, very rainy Thursday morning.
Well, Kemuel, it's a pleasure to have you here. Kemuel, last night, as we were discussing and preparing for this morning's edition of the show, there were so many topics that we realized we could explore, we could, have debates on. But this morning on my way to work, I kept thinking of one particular thing. And that is, yes, we often acknowledge crime and the state of our criminal activity, the levels that we're facing, and the response on the part of various arms of national security. But when I'm listening now to the police commissioner, especially in relation to the bank robbery of the Couva branch of Republic Bank, in which thieves were able to break through the wall of one of the banks, because there are two buildings actually on the compound. The commissioner is stating that the police may have mistaken the bandits for actual workers, legitimate workers. Now, interesting that this is taking place, it's believed to have taken place overnight, not during the day, of course, because during the day it will raise more of an alarm. It's believed to be done overnight. But the funny part is, he says, policing now is brain work and not just power work. You always need to be thinking. And I'm thinking, I am so sorry that our police commissioner, in this day and age where we're in, has to make a statement like that. Policing is now brain work, it's not just power work. I mean, that's absolutely appalling and shameful. But the other aspect of it, Kemuel, is that with the state of robberies now, because the acting police commissioner has also indicated that gangs are now specializing in break-ins. He stated that imagine now, you're not even thanking the police service for doing their job. Imagine you're thanking criminals and thieves for when they spare you your life. When they spare you your life, imagine that you are grateful to them for sparing your life. This is the times that we're living in.
Yeah, and that's just the state that we're in right now. And it's the sad reality and the unfortunate reality that we must come to terms with. Because in a situation where you're being robbed, you'd quicker say, here's what, take what you need to take and go. But on the matter of the robbery at the bank in Couva, what I would say is I think the police should have found it strange that work was being done at that time. I mean, not that work cannot be done at that time, but it's a matter of, it's up to the police station. They must have realized something was wrong. I'm sure a police officer would have come out of the station at that point and looked over to see something strange taking place. They work there and they must know what the normal, usual activity at the bank is like. So it's really, really passing strange that has occurred right in front of a police station, opposite a police station.
Well, I think police in Trinidad, they need to understand that their responsibility is now not just to report for duty and collect a salary at the end of the month. And if the police commissioner, the acting police commissioner, is stating that it's now brain work involved, not just power work, well, I do feel sorry for him having to make that statement and for the fact that the police officers were not able to even understand or realize what was taking place. I mean, good luck to him if he says that they require lots of brain work, because clearly it seems as though they lack that. I mean, we often talk about they lack vehicles, we often talk about body cameras, and just the response overall. But if he's now saying they require brain work, good luck to him, because it seems as though that they lack that as well. But as I said, Kemuel, it's certainly shameful in a society as small as Trinidad and Tobago for us to now be grateful and thankful to criminals for them sparing your life when they rob you. Imagine that.
Yeah, really sad. And in relation to what the commissioner's comments, what I would say is that if he could have thought about the same thing, because I listened to his comments at length, and he would have mentioned the fact that the officers ought to have seen something strange and should have investigated. And then he also called on banks to report to the police, or at least inform the police when they intend to carry out works. But it shouldn't be that. It should be that police should be proactive in their response, in their thinking, because ultimately, I'm sure the Hoover police would have had to respond to the robbery when they would have realized. So it's that they should have been looking out. They should have at least had patrols out, driving, looking at the area. I mean, you're not going to see everything. I don't expect you to see everything, but if you're passing by a bank, you may pay particular attention. If you're passing by ATM, you would pay particular attention to areas like that. If police are patrolling in Port of Spain, they would pay particular attention to certain areas, because they know these areas are prone to certain things. And if the commissioner can say that they are seeing their gang specialized in robbery, then therefore that information needs to be passed down to the divisional commanders, being the regional ACPs, towards their officers, so that they know that here's what we need to pay particular attention to these things, or this should be our focus at this particular time. Because when you are dispatched for a patrol, you are not just sent out to share tickets. You are told, you are briefed by whomever is the officer that is dispatching you, and they will tell you, we are looking for these things. You are to pay particular attention to this particular thing, and that's how it works.
Well, Camille, the police are going to make the usual excuse. You know, nobody reported it, so we couldn't act. He spoke about proactive policing, and that is what we're going to hear. I've heard from media ambassadors on various stations across Trinidad and Tobago, and it's always that nobody reported it, so we cannot act. So clearly there is no proactive policing. But I also want to look at it from the other angle as well, in relation to the bank. I mean, this is Trinidad and Tobago, in which apparently, unofficially, we have the 6th highest crime rate in the world.
Yes, I saw the commissioner did comments on that last week. But in relation to the bank, what I would say is that, yes, they do have cameras, but they should have had some off-site monitoring.
Not only off-site monitoring, Kemuel, there should be now, every financial institution needs to have security within their building 24/7. I think we've come to that state.
Yes, that's it, and that's what I was about to say. That's just the state that we've come to now, whereby they should have on-site security. They are the premises, monitoring things, because this is just one example of Hoover, but there's First Citizens Bank in Montreal, Chaguanas. They were robbed 3 times in a very, very busy area.
Mm-hmm.
That happened. They were robbed 3 times, and the thing about it is that if that can happen to one that other financial institution, what is this to say about the other institutions? They should have been proactive even on the part of the bank in terms of their security and their monitoring, to ensure that their premises are secured.
Certainly, Kemuel. Well, I want to stick on this particular topic in relation to theft. Yesterday, when we opened up the phone lines on the program, I indicated that we only had one phone line working, the other number was down. And I'm making it public now, but WESN fell victim to copper thieves. All our phone lines have been down. There's only one phone line working, and fortunately, that's the phone line in which we're able to speak to the public on a daily basis via our programs. But thieves were able to scrap the wires and steal copper from telephone lines here on Gattaca Street in Woodbrook. So it's happening all over. Now, before I go any further, thank you very much for TSCT for the mere fact that they were on the phone trying to sort out the situation. But we're a business. We're not just a business. We're a media house. Consider the Fourth Estate. TSTT says it's going to take 3 to 5 days. 3 to 5 days before we're able to resolve your situation. Now, thankfully, we have management who really is on their P's and Q's all the time. They're really on the ball. Because after their conversation with TSTT and them having to be a bit more firm and stern, TSTT agreed, okay, well, we'll try and work something out. We'll try and come today or tomorrow to sort out the situation. Because we're not going to use copper lines anymore. We're going to go thoroughly wireless for WESN. So, okay, great, thank you. But I still don't understand, in this modern society, and perhaps this is why one of the reasons why TSTT is losing customers, it takes 3 to 5 days. There was another provider whom I contacted to connect internet, Wi-Fi, to my apartment. And the next day they were there. The very next day they were there. TSTT is telling me it's going to take 3 to 5 days to make you wireless. But anyway, that's the level of management and inefficiency in Transmigo that we've grown accustomed to. But the copper thieves were able to get away. Nobody was hurt. And if anybody was hurt or electrocuted, I make no apologies that I do not feel sorry for them. I do not feel sorry for them if they're electrocuted, if they die. That's their own cause. But now we're also learning that 22 manhole covers along the Orapooch Road in Sangre were stolen. And it's a bigger problem now. It's becoming more and more of a bigger problem. The growing appetite for copper here in Trinidad and Tobago. And the first thing that I thought of, Camille, was the Scrap Iron Dealers Association.
Yes.
The very first thing.
They are essentially the association that controls everything. And I know they have condemned instances like this in the recent past, because it has become, this issue of thieves stealing copper lines has become more prevalent within the last probably 2 or 3 months, because there was in fact someone that was electrocuted. There was someone that was arrested. At one point, there were persons that appeared before the court on charges in relation to stealing copper, and it's kind of becoming a more thriving industry in Trinidad and Tobago. For instance, if you go right to the bottom of Frederick Street, there's actually a guy. Every day, you can actually go and sell your 5-cent pieces to him. Mm-hmm. They just wait out right to the side there. And this issue of stealing the manhole covers goes back as far as 2020 and even before that. I don't know if you recall when the former mayor of Arima, the now minister in the Ministry of Education, Lisa Morris-Julian, had made a statement in relation to persons that were stealing manhole covers in that particular corporation. Mm-hmm. And she said that they were stealing it to make tower, and the UNC came out and they bashed her because they said it wasn't a sensitive statement. And so it goes back as far as that. So we've been dealing with this particular issue for quite a while now. And so it means that we must reinvent the way in which things are done. And I would also say this: TSTT wants to now come and do wireless at WSN, which I think Port of Spain as an area or corporate entity should have been priority if that's the way they are rolling out their management.
Exactly.
But it also speaks to the fact that persons are leaving TSTT and opting to go with the other provider that we have, simply because of the fact that they're inefficient. And now we have the laying off of 468 workers.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing, Camille, focusing on Scrap Iron, but I don't even bother with TSTT anymore. I don't. I mean, the service is poor. I rather deal with other networks, and though it may be a bit more expensive, to me it's worth paying that money if yes. I know I'm guaranteed to get service and guaranteed to get what I am paying for. So
the sad reality in Trinidad is that we just have 2 providers of telephone communication service, which will be TSTT and Digicel. Mm-hmm. And it's a matter of, if the other one doesn't give you good service, well, it goes to the next one, and that's really your option. I mean, for instance, on cable, we have more options, but it's just the sad reality of how things are in Trinidad, where those services are concerned.
But it's also good from the perspective that, and I mentioned it yesterday, that TSTT actually has competition.
Yes.
So everything that is happening within TSTT right now, make the argument, yes, the organization is bloated, state utilities are bloated with workers, we have too much laborers, but that is, in my opinion, management throughout the years, and management
Yes.
has not actually managed enough to make investments within the organization to upgrade themselves in terms of the technology that they utilize and what they provide. So all the excuses that they're giving to me now is the reality of what has transpired from years gone by.
Yes.
It was almost certain that we would have gotten to this point. It is almost certain. I don't see why we should be surprised about it or shocked. Maybe it's the time that we're living in after we're coming out of the COVID-19 pandemic and the economic situation that is just really compounding those emotions even further, but I'm not entirely surprised to see what's taking place right now. But before I go any further in relation to TSTT, back to the issue of the Scrap Iron Dealers Association, and I'm raising this issue now because the theft throughout Trinidad and Tobago in relation to copper and scrap metals is, you can't even refer to it as scrap metals if it's serving a purpose, such as manhole covers,
Yes.
right? But the Scrap Iron Dealers Association President Alan Ferguson said that the association are not the ones to blame. He's actually blaming it on TSTT. And I quote from Mr. Ferguson, "I'm putting all the blame on TSTT, and our association is not taking the blame for anyone that climbs any pole and cut cables." All right, sir, that's obvious. I don't think y'all are necessarily the ones providing the equipment or the ladder for them to cut the lines down. But he says they wrote to the organization to build a partnership with TSTT in order for them to resolve the situation. I don't know exactly what the proposals were put forward. It's amazing in these press conferences how these associations come out and chastise these organizations and blame these organizations and take a stand that we're not to blame, we have nothing to do with this. But they always indicate, well, we communicated with them. We wrote to them. We never ever hear exactly what was communicated. Up to now from the Scrap Iron Dealers Association, I cannot get the ideas that they put forward and how they're going to resolve this. But the bigger issue lies... Sorry, Camille, go ahead.
I know the association has been calling for the minister who has responsibility over them. I think it is Stuart Young, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they met with Stuart Young.
Yes, recently, and they are actually calling for them to implement legislation. But I don't think that that's priority on the government's agenda at this point in time. So it means that the government and the association need to sit down and see what improvements they can be made to the industry so that we can prevent things like this. And it also means that we need to speed up things where going wireless and digital and all of this is concerned. Because the fact that in Port of Spain, in Woodbrook, there is a corporate entity in WSN that is still using wired lines. It's just a sad reality of where we are and how quickly or how slowly things progress in Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, Camille, at least we must be grateful that TSTT is aware of what wireless is. We must be grateful that they are actually up to par in relation to that. But the Scrap Iron Dealers Association are now saying that they're not taking it. Now, the only solution I could see them proposing to TSTT is, we will partner with you, those who are registered and legal entities of the association will now work in removing these cables throughout the country so TSTT doesn't have to do that, and we will just sell the copper. So you don't necessarily have to pay us. Whatever we remove, we will be able to be sell on our own. All right, okay, so that's really the only thing I can think of besides legislation, because as far as I'm concerned, we could pass as many pieces of legislation as we want. Often enough, it doesn't amount to anything. But
yes,
what I am asking the Scrap Iron Dealers Association, because you're defending your members and you're defending the association, so I'm asking, are you all purchasing stolen copper? Because you're saying that you're only going to purchase it from buyers who are registered. Registered with who? The association? Are you purchasing stolen copper? Simple. And you can't just come out hard and fast and say, no, we're not, because you tell me how you know that it's not stolen. Because
that's it.
Purchasing a stolen good and subsequently selling it, you are committing a criminal act.
Correct. And it's state property. At the end of the day, it's government property. But ultimately, the copper that is stolen has to reach somewhere, because they are not the end. They are not the end. The person that's stealing it isn't the end. The end person. They then sell it to somebody who probably sells to somebody else before probably making a refined product. So it's a matter of the question that you are asking. You're asking a very personal question, because of the fact that persons, they ultimately have to buy it from somebody, and the association needs to now look at their own members to see whether or not their members are buying it from the persons who actually steal the copper.
Camille, let me tell you another story. Actually, not before I tell you that story. I am getting the idea from the association that is either you sell us the cables or we'll get people to get the cables on our behalf. I mean, I've read the rhetoric on the part of the association over the last couple of months, and basically what Mr. Ferguson is saying is, sell us the cables, TSTT, you sell us the cables, or we'll help take out the cables, or we will just get our people to, or people we know, affiliates to get it for us.
Well, it's a relatively small industry. Nobody, you and I wouldn't just pick up ourselves and say, well, today I'm going to steal copper from a pole or whatever it is, or lines. It has to be people that are known within the industry, whether or not they are registered. Doesn't matter. The fact is, it's a small industry and people know each other. So they must know they must know the persons. I don't want to call them members, but they must know the persons who are involved in stealing copper.
Exactly. Who do you know? What your sources? But the other story, Camille, as I conclude on this topic for now, because I'm pretty sure that we'll be discussing it very soon again in the future with the prevalence and how often this is happening, is that a couple of months ago on Gattiga Street, a manhole cover, it seems as though that was stolen. Because one morning it was there, the next morning it was gone. So we make the assumption that it's stolen.
Yeah.
For a while, they had a barrel, an old barrel covering the hole. So cars had to drive around it now on Gattiga Street. It seems as though they went and they thieved the barrel as well. Right? So after taking the cover.
But why must we have a barrel in a pot in a hole in our capital city? Why is that the state of the country?
I mean, Camille, if you want to get into a discussion about bureaucracy, we could do that. Not a problem at all. But that is what happened. And after they stole the barrel as well, they ended up putting, it seems as though, planks in it. You know, so that was there for a while. And unfortunately, a couple of weeks later, that was taken out and it was replaced. And, you know, Port of Spain City Corporation trucks pass on this street all the time. So it's not to say that they were unaware of it. And the mere fact it took weeks before we actually got a replacement. Yes, Camille, it goes to show the level of bureaucracy involved in probably procuring a cover, just one cover. So who knows?
Yeah, who really knows?
Anyway, folks, let's pause on this particular discussion for now. We're going to take a break here on the program, and when we return, we continue the conversations this morning, because it seems as though a basic human necessity for survival, water, in Trinidad and Tobago, it seems as though that is becoming a privilege for you to have now. When we return, we get into that conversation. Stay tuned to the program.
As a mother, convenience is a gift. With so many things to juggle every day, I need ease when doing business. Thanks to eyewearsolutions.com, I can order my contact lenses, solutions, and even sunglasses all on the go. Registering and ordering are easy. Plus, I get delivery right at my door or collect in-store if I choose. eyewearsolutions.com. Now that's convenience in a click. Visit eyewearsolutions.com today and enjoy 15% off your first purchase of contact lenses.
I am Rondell Donowa, attorney at law and host of Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Strictly Legal is a legal program geared towards informing you, the public, of your legal rights, responsibilities, and remedies. So be viewing Thursdays 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Sight, Thursdays at 11 a.m. Only on WESN, Content Capital.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're doing on it.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is it no pressure on Nicholas Ball?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the red, white and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
If you live with someone who's tested positive for COVID-19 and has to self-isolate at home, take care of them from a distance and reduce their movement around the house. Give them space, a designated space, and open those windows. If you have to be in contact, mask up, both of you. If you work, stay home from work and don't go out. Not even to the grocery or pharmacy. And remember, no visitors allowed. Limit the contact to limit the spread.
The Trinidad and Tobago Red Cross Society. Mission-based, people-focused, community-driven.
So, water in Trinidad and Tobago is becoming a privilege. Really something that is considered a basic human necessity for survival. If you have a water supply, you are a privileged individual. Never mind that you may be paying your full water bill. And I'm actually grateful if water meters come into play, because clearly you'll be paying a lot less than what you're currently paying for your water supply, because you'll be utilizing a lot less if that is to take place. But there's a back and forth now between the Minister of Works and Transport and the Minister of Public Utilities over road repairs, but more so over the situation associated with WASA. Now, the Minister of Works and Transport says his ministry is not to blame for the state of roads here in Trinidad and Tobago. It's more so to do with the Water and Sewage Authority and when they're carrying out their repairs to leaks. Ladies and gentlemen, over the long weekend, I took a drive throughout South Trinidad, throughout West Trinidad, parts of Central and parts of the East. And I counted no less than at least 5 major leaks. And I stress on the word major because they were big. Almost as though you would think that it's flooding on the road, right? The one that was probably the worst was right outside One Woodbrook Place here, right outside the entrance. The whole street was flooded with water. Anyway, so the Minister of Works and Transport, Ron Sinanan, has indicated that. The Minister of Public Utilities says blaming WASA is not the best approach to this situation. He's claimed that often WASA's lines are disrupted by road paving and road improvement projects. Before I go any further, Kemil, you pointed out during the break that the Minister of Public Utilities actually worked with the Minister of Works and Transport before. He was, I believe, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Works. Now he has his own ministry, and it's a blame game now between both ministers. Nobody knows what's going on.
I'm shocked to see that that's the position that both of them have reached, honestly speaking, because of the fact that when you look at road repairs in Trinidad and Tobago, on one hand, you can't blame WASA, because when they dig up the road to repair a leak or whatever, install something, they would eventually just do a little patch-up work. But there's no collaboration between the two ministries to actually get work done properly. Because what happens is that WASA digs up the road. They do just a shabby job, and then the road continues to deteriorate after a while, and then the Ministry of Works now has to come and do even more work. But I have to wonder whether or not there's somebody bigger that benefits from this.
Well, it's the WASA workers, obviously, that benefit from this. Because if
not just the WASA workers, but also
the subcontractors involved. Yes.
Yes.
Right, because the Minister of Works and Transport stated that I inherited a situation where there is about 15,000 to 16,000 outstanding road restorations to be done in TNT. Wow. Wow. So he's stating that. But then the Minister, the Minister of Works and Transport continued, so it means that WASA was doing leak repairs without restoring the roads. All right, okay, I'll give you that. That's fine. I've seen that before. I've witnessed that. Minister of Public Utilities Marvin Gonzalez responded saying, WASA has commenced an aggressive leak repair program over the last 6 months, where over 10,000 leaks have already been repaired. To support this program, we are about to commence an aggressive road rehabilitation program to ensure road infrastructure is properly restored once a leak has been repaired. All right, okay, so we're guessing on there's already the duty and responsibility of once you repair a leak, WASA has to repave the road. Now we're having a separate entity within WASA to do that. So more money is being spent. We don't know the value of the contract. Exactly. Yep. Right? Putting that aside, focusing on WASA, because if I go to speak about the state of roads in Trinidad and Tobago, where you're driving on a road but you can't even see the road, you don't know where the road disappeared to. For example, the Naparima Mayara Road. My word, Kemuel, if you... Anyway.
I was there recently, so I know the condition of the road.
You lucky if you even saw the road. At one point in time, I thought I don't know what I was driving on. But anyway, in relation to WASA, most recently, I have noticed that we have a water scheduling in place throughout Trinidad and Tobago. In fact, if you're washing your car with a hose in your yard, if police pass by, they can actually charge you for wasting water because we have that. Meanwhile, we cannot get a thorough supply of water. There are innumerous leaks throughout Trinidad and Tobago, some of them that are horrible, horrendous, and yet we keep hearing that we shouldn't play this blame game. But I blame WASA just as much as I blame the Minister of Works and Transport for saying it's not his ministry's fault. I very much blame WASA as well. It's not a matter of a blame game. They are the ones who are responsible for what we're seeing taking place. People cannot get water. You might as well go bathe in the road. Just now people are going to do that. They already started doing that, actually.
Yeah. And I blame successive governments because there are two issues here. The issue of water collection, then there's the issue of water distribution, then there's the issue of maintenance and repairs. And it says that no government has really cared about the way in which WASA is managed, simply because of the fact that there are still people in 2022 who are struggling to get water in their taps. And when I say water, I mean a consistent flow of water. I'm not speaking about water once every 2 weeks and they have to make sure their tank fill. I'm sure there are people in different parts of the country right now who are glad for this rain today because that's the only how they can possibly get water, simply because of the fact that governments over the years have spent billions of dollars, not millions, billions of dollars in attempting to fix the issues of WASA or just so that they can pay out contracts to their friends and families. But no real change has actually been or can actually be seen because they have failed, they have wasted billions, and that's essentially what we are inheriting. Now we are almost 2 years from a transformation report with WASA, and still there isn't anything or any concrete plans as to how they intend to go forward with WASA.
Well, you're right in terms of people being grateful for the rain this morning, because it's the only opportunity they'll get to open up their water tanks and ensure that, okay, we have water. You're absolutely right in saying that. In relation to a transformation plan of WASA, I don't even think they have a plan. I think all along, they said we were going to have this committee. The report was made. We never got any details of the report, aside from the fact of the obvious, of the level of mismanagement, corruption, and a bloated system. I think that was always obvious. So we spent money on a committee trying to create this report, and then nothing has happened, because at the end of the day, we'll come out and we'll say these things. We already know what we intend to do. We already know that we are going to, have these workers removed from the organization. We're going to trim the fat, basically. The corruption will somehow remain, because once you're giving out government contracts, corruption will always remain. And so the plan is, okay, we can come out, we can say these things over the course of this time, and then we'll just cut the workers. And I think that's basically what's going to happen. But
that has been the consistent trend of this government in particular. I'm not saying this to be facetious or anything, but that's basically how they have done restructuring over the last almost 7 years.
And that in itself is not even restructuring. That's the unfortunate thing. We're using this word restructuring very loosely now. But in relation to WASA, a couple other things. I've also noticed quite frequently WASA lines actually being, and when I say left open, usually they're buried underground, and you have that connection to the facility through whatever means, whether it be underground or through a pipe that leads to the building. Now I'm seeing WASA lines actually on the pavement, lining up on the pavement, lining up on the road. And isn't that in itself going to cause a problem? What if some accident happens, whatever it may be, and that line bursts? People are going to lose water. Millions of gallons of water are going to be lost. We're not going to have that supply water schedule still in place, that pipe leaking, but if you're washing your car, we'll still arrest you and charge you. And this, again, is the inefficiency. I cannot understand for the life of me. We have this water connection, but we're running it above ground? Is that the new trend?
Well, I guess that's their new trend. But the thing about it is that we know the issues. We know the issues of WASA. They know the issues. Governments know the issues. The managers at WASA know the issues. But it's simply that people have been benefiting over the years from the fact that, okay, we have a problem with leaks, we could just give a contractor this, they can do all this work. If they take a portion of Trinidad, another contractor gets another portion, and that's just it. WASA in itself has workers, yet still they hire outside people to do work that they can do, and we just, even in other ministry, they just outsource everything. People benefit from these things, hence the reason why we continuously need to be speaking about them over and over and over and over, because there are people who benefit.
Yep. Often I repeat myself on this program, but I don't have any other choice but to. That's the only way that will drive the message home. I don't have a choice but to repeat myself. That's just the reality. And as we get further into this topic, because we don't have much time left to cover this particular topic, but the most recent story we're now hearing is that the Penal Debe Regional Corporation is reporting that some 3.4 million gallons of water were distributed to residents during the 2022 dry season between January and May of this year. They said in a 79-day period, they distributed 3.244 million gallons of drinking water to non-WASA connected residents. This program came to an end on Wednesday, last week Wednesday. They've actually exhausted a $650,000 budget allocated for annual services. According to the statement, 12 trucks carrying 1,200 gallons of water each would have left the filling bay at the Debe hydrants on a daily basis, making a minimum of 3 trips, delivering a minimum of 400 gallons per family. So they now indicated that they've actually exhausted the entire budget, the annual budget, on this water thing. But you see this non-WASA connected residents thing? I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Is it because they were disconnected because they couldn't pay their bills, There's illegal. What is it? This is the thing. In this day and age, Kemuel, we should not have issues like this.
And you're very correct. I think it's a matter of persons who obviously there are certain requirements that you have to meet similarly to TNTech in order to be connected. So I think it's a matter of those residents do not meet the requirements of WASA in order for them to be connected to the service. But all of this is just politics. It's just politics. The fact that the regional corporation can come out and say, well, we exhaust our money. They are glad to say that they would have exhausted their money on attempting to give these residents water. They are glad because people would have benefited.
At the same time, if I were to read between the lines, I'm not saying what the Penal Debe Corporation is saying is untrue. By no means am I saying that, and I'm not trying to in any way drown their efforts, pun intended. But it's essentially, if I could read between the lines and say this is political, seeing that it's a Penal Debe Regional Corporation, hint, hint, wink, wink, this is part of our campaign for the upcoming local government elections as well.
Yes. Yeah. That's correct. And they are glad to say that they have been starved for funds over the years, and that P&M corporations would have always gotten more funds as opposed to UNC corporations, and that's the trend. The P&M, the UN, that particular corporation has been one of the more vocal corporations on both sides. That particular corporation, they have always spoken out. I think the chairman is Alan Sami, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Dr. Alan Sami.
Yeah, Dr. Alan Sami. He has always been vocal about the challenges which the corporation faces, and it's surprising that that particular corporation and UNC did not support local government reform in the sense. In fact, when they were asked for submissions, that particular corporation was the only corporation that did not submit anything, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yeah. No, you're not mistaken. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I'd love to see the UNC defend this. But at the end of it all, as Kemuel mentioned, successive governments have spent billions. Who knows, Kemuel? It may have been trillions, from start to finish, but or starts up until this point. But they've also spent a lot of words blaming each other. So this is not just a PNM problem. This is not just a current administrative problem. Sure, they are the ones in power, and they have the authority, the power to actually rectify the situation. However, I'm not going to be hard and fast and say, I blame Marvin Gonzalez, I blame Ron Sinanan, I blame Keith Rowley, it's PNM fault again. I will be childish, ignorant, and absolutely foolish to do so. It's successive governments gone by that have done that. At the end of it all, though, what remains? The ones that are in power, the ones in office right now, they can make a difference and they can make a change. And if they continue to blame governments gone by without actually rectifying the situation, because I get the job's not easy, but when you're preaching to me to conserve water and water schedule and this and that and whatnot, and I'm seeing these leaks, I'm seeing such leaks, it's hard as a citizen to even trust what you're seeing.
Yes, correct.
Anyway, folks, if you have a water supply this morning, be grateful. You're a privileged citizen here in Trinidad and Tobago. We're going to take a break, and when we return, we'll discuss our last topic for the morning. Stay tuned.
Gift giving during a lockdown can still be hassle-free with a gift from FanZone with delivery options available nationwide. Visit and browse our Facebook and Instagram pages for all your official licensed merchandise and apparel and have it delivered to your door. Find us on Facebook and Instagram. FanZone, we've got you covered.
The best for your baby is at dbesttoys.com. We have the best strollers, car seats, walkers, feeding accessories, playpens, cribs, clothing, and the widest range of brand name toys like Barbie, Hot Wheels, Nerf, LOL, Fisher-Price, Cocomelon, Intex Pools, Amazon Fire tablets, HP and Gateway laptops, and the best bikes, scooters, skateboards, and ride-on. Visit us in-store at Southern Main Road, McBean, or shop online now at dbesttoys.com. That's dbesttoys.com. We have the best toys at the best prices.
There's a taste in the air everywhere. Feel the vibe cause it's something to share. Smooth, rich and creamy, you'll find it right here. Makes you smile, relax a while, it's fun and good cheer. Ooh, enjoy every scoop. Ooh, every taste will get you hooked. This is Uncle Pete's.
If you live with someone who's tested positive for COVID-19 and has to self-isolate at home, take care of them from a distance and reduce their movement around the house. Give them space, a designated space, and open those windows. If you have to be in contact, mask up, both of you. If you work, stay home from work and don't go out, not even to the grocery or pharmacy. And remember, no visitors allowed. Limit the contact to limit the spread.
The Trinidad and Tobago Red Cross Society. Mission-based, people-focused, community-driven.
Welcome back to Talking Points. We just have about 7 minutes before we have to head for news on the hour. But this is something that Camille, 2022, Thursday the 2nd of June, we're speaking about child marriage here in Trinidad and Tobago. Out of all the issues that are plaguing society, imagine that this is one that has once more been raised at the forefront. Mahasabha President General Secretary Krishna Rambali in his Indian Arrival Day address said they rejected any suggestion that the long-standing practice of child brides was equivalent to child abuse at state-run institutions. And I quote, "Let it be crystal clear that when a child of early teens was married in the decades and centuries past, such a child was not abused, beaten, molested, starved, and humiliated like the child victims in state homes. Our forefathers were not pedophiles. They were not abusers and molesters of children that exist in the state-run children's home today." End quote. He said there was no equivalence. It was just pure wickedness to imply that the SDMS supported child abuse. But if the SDMS supports child marriage, that in itself is child abuse?
Yes, correct. If you recall, when they would have been attempting to amend the act under former Attorney General Al Rawi back in 2017, the UNC did not support it. But his statement really stems from the PNM's meeting last Tuesday, when I think it was Camille Robinson-Regis would have said something in relation to child marriages and the fact that the SDMS kind of would have supported based on the submissions that they would have made at the point in time.
Well, actually, hold on, Camille. Sorry to interject. Camille Robinson-Regis said she never mentioned Mahasabha.
Yes, that's correct. I was just about to say that.
Yeah, her words were, Mother Kamla, he swore in 2 pundits in the Senate to protect the abolition of child marriages. We women forget that. And you want us to believe that you care about children, end quote. That was the comment.
Yes. Yes, I did see her clarify because they released something, I think it was yesterday, from the Women's League, and she would have clarified just those exact words that you would have stated. And it goes back as far as that. But I am still trying to figure out how it came up, but from what I understand, came up through the topic of abuse and the failure of the People's Partnership to do anything about it that we know of during their tenure, and so they would have been speaking about it on the political platform. And it goes to show that something so prevalent as child abuse and a topic that really and truly touches the hearts of people has been now drained into the political divide.
Well, Camille Robinson-Regis, she said Mother Kamla swore in 2 pundits into the Senate. The SDMS took offense to it, and with all due respect to the SDMS, give it to Camille Robinson-Regis, she never actually mentioned the Mahasabha. But they took offense to the fact that she said 2 pundits. And she said, well, they're 2 separate entities, the UNC and the SDMS. They are 2 separate entities. Sometimes you might think they're one, but she's right.
They would have probably responded because of the fact that they see themselves as an umbrella organization for Hindus, and pundits are essentially Hindu related. So I think that's really where their defense, where they would have come out in defense publicly because of that particular fact.
Well, I'll be very honest with you, Camille, and to the viewing public. I can't say I respect the SDMS from the purpose of which they were hoping to serve, of which they were created to serve. When I hear things like this, it's very difficult to give that same respect or have that same respect for the SDMS, because quite frankly, the mere fact in this day and age, we're still talking about child marriage and supporting child marriage. Just to educate the SDMS, since we're all for Hindus and this and that and culture and whatnot. India in 2006, they passed the Child Marriage Act, which prohibits the marriage of boys under the age of 21 and girls under the age of 18. In Trinidad and Tobago, we cannot allow this to, and from what I understand, this still happens in a lot of rural communities here in Trinidad.
Yes.
And I am shocked. So if the SDMS is okay with supporting child marriages, and we're claiming that it's part of our history, it's part of our culture and whatnot, I'm so sorry. I really have to question what the SDMS vision is, or exactly what it is they're trying to defend. Because clearly they're not thinking precisely.
Well, Sat Moran could have been the person leading the organization at that particular time back in 2017. So their position was really based off of that. To the point where Calypso actually Croker actually wrote a song, 75 Can't Go Into 14.
Yeah.
And he was speaking about how young some girls were, and it was very, very startling statistics from over the years. I think in the release from the PNM, they would have actually stated the stats that were used at that particular time from the Registrar General's office under the Office of the Attorney General to prove the point that this has been happening. There were over 2,000 young girls who were married married to men over the years from, I think it would have been 1995 to 2016 at that particular time, to show really and truly why are we condoning this when we are signatory to certain UN conventions and we pledge that we will protect children and, different things like that.
I cannot see how anybody will see any positive in marrying a child who's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I cannot see the positivity in that. So, I mean, here in Trinidad, and what I'm about to say is very controversial, but it's the reality.
Yes.
From the perspective that if a child is raped and impregnated, we go after the individual and we charge them, and rightfully so.
Yes.
But you mean to tell me that is okay if that same child was married through an arranged marriage?
That's what they see does, so it's considered not rape.
That's barbaric.
In their eyes.
That's barbaric. Anyway, Camille, listen, we have to break for news on the hour. When we return, we can continue the conversations this morning. We'll open up the phone lines and give you, the viewer, the opportunity to have your opinions and to share your comments. Stay tuned.
Seven is out. All day is in. WESN News on the hour.
Every day, we communicate through stories. Stories of ourselves, our challenges, our goals, our experiences, and our aspirations. Storytelling is an art that we have mastered. WESN Film Studios comprises a collaborative team of experts with extensive industry experience locally, regionally, and internationally. The ability of your business to successfully communicate with your preferred audience depends on the strength of the stories you tell. Your vision should be communicated in a high-quality, professional, and creative way. From concept to post-production, advertising to film, multi-camera productions, live events, streaming, and virtual conferencing, we are WESN Film Studio. Let your own unique voice be heard and your vision realized. Call us today at 628-5835 for your next production.
In this season, we talk more about health, wellness, and everything in between. I am so excited to share with you everything about health and wellness so that you can design the life that you've always dreamed of. Join me here on What's Up Doc.
What's Up Doc? Tuesdays and Thursdays here on WESN, Content Capital.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're doing on it.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is it no pressure on Nicholas Ball?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the white and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
Let your voice be heard. Call Madam Fix It on WESN, the only place that effectively helps you with your woes. Having problems getting onto government agencies, water woes, NIS and pension problems, potholes, and much, much more. Call me, Madam Fix It, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here on WESN. Let me fix it for you.
Burning questions, urgent topics. Welcome back to One on One, the show where we tackle the most current and pertinent subjects that are affecting all citizens, where we ask the hard questions and have in-depth conversations. What separates One on One from other talk shows is that the conversation stems from a younger perspective on topics that affect the fabric of our society. One on One, Wednesdays at 10 a.m. on WESN Content Capital.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Sight, Thursdays at 11 a.m. only on WESN, Content Capital.
If you live with someone who's tested positive for COVID-19 and has to self-isolate at home, take care of them from a distance and reduce their movement around the house. Give them space, a designated space, and open those windows. If you have to be in contact, mask up, both of you. If you work, stay home from work and don't go out, not even to the grocery or pharmacy. And remember, no visitors allowed. Limit the contact to limit the spread.
The Trinidad and Tobago Red Cross Society. Mission-based, people-focused, community-driven.
Due to copper thieves, only one of our phone lines are working, 6239376. That number is up on your screen. Feel free to call in and join us on the program. Have your comments and your thoughts heard. if there's any topic this morning that we did not cover and we did not get into, feel free to also raise that issue as well. But overall, I mean, Kemuel, before I continue, and as we await callers, by any chance, you have some good news you could share with us? Because this morning, you know, the good news, I suppose, is the rain falling, but there's nothing else to celebrate.
Honestly speaking, I mean, well, give thanks for life, but the rain, I guess, it's one thing because I'm happy for the rain. But in Trinidad, because there are a lot of things that, I mean, that we can say that we take for granted and we should be thankful for. But then there are also other things that should be, should or can be better, I should say, that we are simply failing for whatever reason.
Kemuel, do you think that we get so caught up in the political rhetoric and the conversations surrounding these things that we often tend to forget that down here, this is the ironic part of my statement, we actually have it a lot nicer and a lot better compared to others around the world?
I would say so, and rightfully so. And I mean, a lot of people would agree because in truth and in fact, we do have things a lot better than in many other countries. Let's be real, even right here in the Caribbean, and even when we look at our neighbors right next door, in Venezuela, there are things that we should be very, very grateful for that we take for granted. And so, yes, you are correct in saying that.
But you mentioned Venezuela, and many Venezuelans are returning to their homeland because they say it's much better if it's easier for them there than down here.
Well, yes, but there are still a lot here, and there are still things that we take for granted in Trinidad that people actually want. There are services that we receive in Trinidad that you can't get in other countries. When you look at probably jobs, many other things that are here that people can't get elsewhere. And they flock to Trinidad and Tobago simply because of the fact that we have it. It's just a matter of how we are managing or how we have managed our resources over the years to be in the position that we are in right now.
I suppose we could look at the Minister of Tourism's announcement of the hotel change that's hopefully coming on board very soon as a positive. Yesterday, I was speaking to Karen about this, and I was trying to wrap my head around it, whether or not it is that we're being identified as a tourist destination, or whether or not it's more of the business and services industries that these hotels are looking at. We have Radisson Blu that is 75% complete. It just needs outfitting now. We have the Hamptons by Hilton brand. They're looking to establish their hotel around the airport. The Napa Hotel as well, which will be actually managed by an international firm that is to come on board soon. We have the new hotel in Tobago very soon. I think it's Sunset Inn in Scarborough.
Yes. There are a number of firms that are coming into the country, but it's obviously that they see something that they can benefit from in some way or the other. But what I would also say is that we need to be careful in terms of, now, these firms don't just come into our country. They obviously would have had some sort of conversation and dialogue with stakeholders within the sector and also with the government. And when we look at the fact that some of these projects are actually sponsored in part by the government, and it's a matter of whether or not we are actually going to be getting value for money, not now, but in the years to come, and whether or not our investment is going to pay off.
Certainly, speaking about investments paying off, we give these major corporations and entities tax holidays, as a way for them to not only establish themselves, but to have an income stream that's uninterrupted, as to allow for not the establishment, but I suppose the concrete foundation of the business to run for years, hoping that also it creates employment opportunities for locals as well. And I'm hoping that is exactly what takes place, because I don't want it to be a situation now where the government is now actually having to pay an international brand to manage the hotel. I want us, because, okay, fine, locals are getting job opportunities and that's good. So that adds to the circular flow of income, but it's also taking out a great amount of money.
Correct.
You know,
Yeah.
I don't want.
Once you have that international firm there, it means that money is essentially leaving Trinidad and Tobago, and what is really staying is probably what the workers are getting, and then in some instances, probably you have let's say a 50-50 or 60-40 ratio of workers. Most of the workers maybe from other countries, and just a percentage from Trinidad and Tobago. So it really isn't, the funds really aren't staying within Trinidad and Tobago.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. But the other aspect of it that I will also look at is the fact that, are we now going to see, because most recently I think we had KLM that re-entered our shores, and I'm wondering now if with these new hotels popping up, whether or not we're going to see a reaction of new or airlines actually landing here in Trinidad and Tobago, if that is also we're going to see a boost in relation to that as well, and whether or not this could also impact Caribbean Airlines in terms of destinations that they could expand upon.
Well, Caribbean Airlines has in fact expanded since the pandemic. Since the borders reopened back on July 17th, 2021, and they would have introduced the Houston route, which I know they wanted to introduce pre-pandemic. They would have started to go to Curacao. A couple other routes that they would have started since then. So it's a matter of them exploring their options. And once they can facilitate, or once they see that as profitable then and viable, then they should very well go forward with it.
I think so. We have a caller line with us from Chaguanas. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Here you're speaking about our inefficient utilities. But the reason for that is interference by the politicians. They go on boasting about we have the cheapest electricity and the cheapest water. What is the use of that when these places are starved for funds? I have pointed out to you on many occasions that the water people have applied for a review of their tariff over 12 years ago, and no progress is made. One can only assume it is political interference, because it's a simple matter. You apply for a tariff, you have your consultation, long ago it is to be published in the paper, whoever put in their comments, and you make a decision. And the problem about this, we're trying to run the whole country like that, because we are taking things now and making special purposes company that I cannot see the logic of. For example, we have a special purpose company now, we're going to have collect revenue. That is the oldest concept of government. Why we want a special purpose? What is the advantage with a Board of Inland Revenue? There's nothing that a revenue authority can do that the Board of Inland Revenue cannot do better. Gentlemen, any questions? Or?
Well, Professor, based on what you said with respect to review over 12 years, I suppose that we should not be too surprised if that's the case with the proposal put forward to the Regulated Industries Commission over increased electricity rates.
Yes, but then the government itself don't pay the water and the electricity rate.
Well, there you go. So I don't think we should be too
but
surprised.
But the answer to the question is enforce all your laws.
Yeah.
Which
No,
I have
Professor,
said on
right.
numerous occasions.
Yeah, Professor, you're
Is
right.
that above us?
You're right.
All right.
Thank you very much. Have a good day. Have a wonderful day. That is actually one of the problems associated with this entire thing, is that we cannot get things done in a timely manner. Now, I hear the professor in relation to the Revenue Authority as well. I myself was questioning, what's the point of this if we have a Board of Inland Revenue? To me, this is not going to create efficiency. We're just going to have two companies that, as far as I'm concerned, serve the same purpose. So is it that we're creating more bureaucracy by implementing this new authority?
Well, yes and no, but what I also would say, and he asks why do we have so many special purpose companies? What I would say is that some things I do think really and truly require special purpose companies for them to probably be more efficient or whatever is the case.
But Kemuel, special purpose companies clearly do not work. Prime example, the Education Facilities Company Limited, EFCL. They clearly do not work.
He is correct in the sense that there's a lot of political interference, and they don't work simply because of that. Because of the interference that affects them in terms of carrying on their mandate, because these companies are not just set up just like that. They're set up with a particular purpose.
But then, Camille, that's a counter argument. I'll point it out to you very shortly because we have a caller on the line with us from Diego Martin. Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Hi, guys. And Sean, wherever you are, thanks. Good morning
Good
on
morning.
this wet, rainy morning. I see Kemuel has tried to brighten it up with his floral shirt. Cool. You all, that Republic Bank theft, it would be funnier if it weren't so damn ridiculous. I mean, it's just really stupid to describe that. And sadly, again, the comment on the police requiring thought, it shows that they lack brain cells. Same as TSTT, because Lisa Agard, since last year, she spoke about that cable theft. And she said it's increased this last year, like August. But because TSTT was so proactive, they have response teams and systems in place. Otherwise, last year, it could have been much worse. So I don't know what she's saying now. And that was in August,
yes,
where there were 4 convictions. She reminded people of the $250,000 is the fine for that. Did you know that?
Yeah, I was aware of that.
Or 5 years imprisonment. So if they've left the cables, that's a crime of opportunity like all the rest, like the manhole covers and other things. And just by the way, Keaton, as I say, crime of opportunity, the kidnapping of young girls that we're always talking about, the Venezuelan girl Mariesti, who was kidnapped Tuesday,
yes,
she was released yesterday, and the police said, again, it's a crime of opportunity. So that's what we have here, a preponderance of opportunity crimes, because we live in a lawless society. So, thanks.
Thank you very much, caller. Imagine that's what we're labeling it as now, Camille. A crime of opportunity.
Crime of opportunity. Yeah, because criminals go where they see the opportunity.
But they're getting it. Seems as though we're providing it for them as well. But
true.
But I want to go back to this debate about the special purpose companies, because clearly what you said there, yes, government interference, political interference. So then what's the point of creating a special purpose company if we know that the ones who are creating it are the ones who are going to interfere with their operations, and it's just going to lead to more money being lost, lead to more inefficiency?
Well, let's be reminded of that. And this is the sobering reality of all of this in Trinidad, of all the problems that we face, of all the lack of the government doing things to resolve the problem. Let's remind that there are people who put them there, and there are people who would have, I'm not speaking about the voters, I'm speaking about the bigger people in the background. And their people need to benefit. So if their people can benefit by way of them being hired as a contractor for a special purpose company, or their people being placed on a state board in one of the companies, then they have fixed the problem in their shareholders' eye, because what the people who find who would finance the parties, and that's really what it is. Kickbacks and more kickbacks and contractors being hired and all of that.
Always takes me back to when they distributed light bulbs. I wonder who is the one that the government procured those light bulbs from to distribute. But Camille, I hear you. I agree with you in relation to, okay, we have to have kickbacks and whatnot. My entire point is that overall, create these special purpose companies. They will operate for 3-4 years. All of a sudden, they are in debt. They cannot pay their debts. They're going to have to shut down. And that's the end of it. And then we'll go create. Because, I mean, after EFCL is no more. Who's going to look after schools? MTS? From what I understand, MTS is already collapsing. Right?
Well, they'll just find another company because the government is in fact owing MTS in the hundreds of millions, and not just with one ministries.
Right.
A lot of ministries that owe.
So we basically declare bankruptcy to write off the debt, close down the company, and then we'll create another entity. So it's just a vicious cycle, right?
Yes.
Great. Who gets affected by that? Camille, by the time these politicians are sworn into office, they forgot. They forget about everything, and they forgot who put them there. By the time they get into office, campaign done, I've won my election. All right, okay, cool. Nothing else. Simply nothing else. Politicians are not serving the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Politicians are serving themselves.
The energy, exactly, and the people who would have financed their party, those are people that they are serving. And the same energy that they would have had to get people to come out and vote for them on election day, the same energy that they would have had to walk the streets, has now gone into them seeing about the people who would have financed their party. They no longer think about people who would have actually done the groundwork with them on the fields to put them there.
It raises another issue that I've experienced. After individuals are sworn into office and whatnot, they forget them. You know how hard it is to communicate with them and get in contact with them when all is said and done? It's very difficult. How often do you see a member of parliament in a constituency office?
Some members of parliament don't even know what is their purpose.
They don't know where it's located.
Of them.
They don't know where the constituency office is located. Somebody's collecting rent, but the office is always closed and empty. And you call the office and no answer.
I can tell you right now, even being the person that I don't know where my MP's office is, because they would have moved it so many times, and it has changed hands so many times.
Well, Camille, I guess what they do by moving it so many times is work, because you don't even know where they are now. So you can't say, you didn't come look for me, you didn't come show. We have a caller on the line with us from Claxon Bay. Good morning, caller.
Morning, Keaton.
Morning, Mr. Fisherman.
Morning, young man there.
Morning.
When you this copper wire is a big business, you know.
Yeah.
Because when the police holding guys with a truckload of copper wire and taking a little cut and leaving them go, they have a puff with a gate from over there. It's going on in the country.
But Mr. Fisherman,
I know a guy get hold with about a 3-ton truck load. And the police just singing and they pass a little with their pass. Man, they as usual.
Mr. Fisherman, just tell me quickly, inform me quickly, they still burning copper at the back by you?
I hear properly.
They still burning copper by you?
Yeah. By me every single day. But rain falling today, they are burning today. Every single day, and you may do nothing about it. And
you made a report?
These copper wire and iron people is hooligans, you know.
Yeah.
And back on the side of you, they're using it in your wall. They're abusing you. You understand you?
Yeah.
All these things. So.
All right, Mr. Fisherman. Well, thank you very much.
All right, listen up, Pedro.
Yeah, thank you very much. Take care. So I guess people are now actually afraid to deal with these individuals handling these metals. Well, let me not say they're doing people, but just that based off of that one experience. I wouldn't want to deal with anybody else who's, part of this. And this is what I'm saying. So as much as the Scrap Iron Dealers Association will come out and defend its members and defend its organization and say that we're not a part of it, I think that they're just falling blind again. I think they're just going too hard for us.
Certainly, that's it.
Yeah, and honestly, Camille, if this situation gets resolved anytime soon, I'll be entirely grateful. But quite frankly, I have no faith and confidence in any of it being resolved. And I don't mean to sound like the weather outside, all doom and gloomy and whatnot. No, I don't mean to sound like that. But this is why I often say call in and share, some good news, because quite frankly, there is none. Put a smile on my face. I think the caller that we have on the line possibly will try to do that this morning. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, Keaton.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Camille.
Morning.
Well, guys, first of all, thank you for a fabulous North Coast Jazz Festival. Okay.
We were very happy to see you.
Good. Second, regarding the child brides and a 12-year-old body, a 12-year-old female body is hardly ready for the rigors of marriage. So there, the group. My mouth has died this morning, but the the group that professes that, oh, we're not pedophiles, and we're not abusing children. Just the mere fact that the body is 12 years old is abuse. Okay, so that's my thoughts on that. As far as the hotels that are being built, what product are we offering for this influx of expected guests? Are we really ramping up our offering? Are we really aware that tourism is an important factor for all countries? Because even looking at New York, the Big Apple, when they started with the I Love New York tourism thrust, that alone should tell us that, yes, we need to look at every single option that we have, whether it's culture, whether it's fashion, ecotourism. We have to look at every single thing that we have to offer as a product. And that's the good news. We have so much to offer.
Well, I mean, my good lady from Santa Cruz, what the one lesson that we took away from North Coast Jazz on Saturday is, I mean, we spoke about family, we spoke about unity and everybody coming together, but you see, community tourism, as something we would have witnessed on Saturday, is something that we could actually utilize to our advantage here in Trinidad. I mean, if you go, people go to Tobago and they may go to, they may stay within the Crown Point area, they may go up to as far as Scarborough. Go beyond that, go into the island itself. It is beautiful. And we have a lot to offer there. And that's what I'm saying. Community tourism. I mean, I can't really see ourselves being a tourist destination given our current state of affairs and whatnot. But if we can try and resolve some of those issues and focus more on community tourism, I think we'll have a lot to offer.
You're exactly right. Because when I was in Tobago, I was saying to the villagers, because I'm from Charlottesville, and I'm saying October is a major opportunity for Tobago to shine. And of course, if Tobago shines, Trinidad will get a piece of that. But every single village in Tobago should be shoring up and making sure that they have something to offer so that when people come there in October, and not just on the weekend, make the whole month work.
Yeah.
Make the whole month work, okay, Camille?
Yes.
All right, thank you, my good lady.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good day. Camille, that just about wraps up the time. I'll give you the opportunity to give your closing statements, but let me just, before you do it, thank you very much for coming on the program. It's always good seeing you and having your thoughts and opinions here and adding to the debates, the conversations.
Certainly. It's already the Trinidad and Tobago, and of course, we always like to thank those who would have joined us on the program, and thank you so very much to our callers. We would have explored many topics this morning that would or could have led to many different discussions, and of course, we in Trinidad and Tobago hope that some of these things can be resolved in the near future, but there is hope for us in Trinidad and Tobago, as some of the things that we enjoy here are not enjoyed by many. So let's be grateful today, despite the weather.
Well, Camille Pascal, I don't need to say any more. You basically said it all. Thank you very much once more, my friend. And to the viewer, as I mentioned before, have a safe day. It's rainy, walk with your umbrellas, but be very careful when you're on the road. Ladies and gentlemen, have a good day. Today's a good day to have a good day, as I always say. And we'll see you again tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.